Hello, everyone. This is Stan with SL Consulting. Over the years, I have counseled many clients in legal and business matters and have done consulting work for quite some time, over 25 years. And many of my clients, I have thousands of clients, and family and friends have asked me to start to do a YouTube video series listing various topics, business topics that the entrepreneur and small, medium-sized businesses could find beneficial. So after considerable thought, I decided that I was going to go ahead and do it. Not really one to make videos or to hear myself talk. And this being the first video, I'm sure I'm going to make a whole bunch of mistakes, so just bear with me and we'll get through it. This first one's kind of long, but it's an introductory to the YouTube channel. It's SL Consulting. I provide consulting to medium to small-sized businesses, startup companies, entrepreneurs who have an idea, how to go about structuring your company, get funding, and everything in between, contract work, human resources, a whole bunch of stuff. So I've bought and sold businesses over the years for clients, been part of businesses that have been bought and sold. So I decided to take all of that and go ahead and put it into a video. I don't know if I like that shadow behind me, but that's all right. We'll figure that out here in a second. In the video, so I'm going to go through a whole bunch of stuff to let you know about my company and about what I do, how I go about doing it, topics I'm going to cover in this video series. It's a nice sunny day here in Indiana, as you can see from behind. I don't know if I like that sunlight shining in, but that's all right. It makes my head kind of look funny, but I'm losing hair anyways. So, like I said, we're going to get into it. I've counseled companies from, as I said, startups to companies that have 50 million in revenue, over 100 employees, and have done it down to 2 or 3 employees with very little revenue to get them going. It's a way to figure out how to operate your business and create profitable business strategies. One of the key phrases I always use is profitability, profitable business strategies. Are you operating your business to optimize your profit? We can always increase revenue. That does not necessarily mean increasing profit. You got into business early on for the simple reason that you wanted to put money in your pocket. And in order to do that, you have to be profitable. There has to be some huge number on the bottom line that you are going to be able to put into your pocket, into your home, and live the life that you want to live. Starting a business, owning a business, it can be very difficult. If you know how to do something and you decide one day you want to do it on your own, well, are you buying a job or are you buying a business? There's a different mindset between having a skill and deciding to go out and sell your product or service on the open market, or operating a business that sells a service or a product. They're two different mindsets. And one, if you're buying a job, if you're simply just going to sell your service or product, there's only so many hours in the day, and you can only do so much. So unless you have the mindset of a business owner, an entrepreneur, or somebody who knows how to operate a business in that mindset, it can be very daunting. It's a task that can keep you up at night. So some of the things that my company does, that we have done for people for years and years. 25 years I've been doing this. As I said, I've counseled thousands of clients. Questions I would ask from the very first time we met. Are you maximizing your profit? Can you increase, double, triple your revenue? Are you getting the most out of your employees? Are your employees happy? We just went through a pandemic, and many people decide they're just going to be at home. Are you providing a benefit for people? Are you enriching the lives of your employees while maximizing your profit and enriching your life? That is a great question. Is your company as efficient as it should be? Are you optimizing your employees, your revenue? Are you optimizing your marketing, supplies, all of this? We look at the whole nuts and bolts of a company. Kind of like a surgeon. We go in with a surgeon's knife and tear apart your company and build it back up. We look at every aspect just to make sure you're getting the most out of it. You know, there's a margin at the end of the day. For every dollar that comes into your company, how much of that dollar are you putting in your pocket? And then are we shielding it so that you don't have to use it, so that you can put it towards your retirement? Whatever it is you want to do. Maybe take trips with your significant other, college for your children. Maybe it's buy another house, buy a bigger house, buy a boat and fancier car, whatever it is. Living the life that you want to live. But until you have the mindset of a business owner and until you really treat your company like a business, you're never going to achieve your goal. You really won't. You'll be frustrated, you'll work long hours, and you'll find that everybody around you is getting rich except you. Or you're making just as much as your employees and you're working twice as hard. That's not how a business should operate. So we help companies maximize that profit. We put in profitable business strategies. We teach profitable business strategies. At the end of the day, we want you to be successful. As I've mentioned, I have counseled clients from day one through ongoing concerns, companies that have been in business 6, 7, 10 years and are looking to take that next step. And then for you to be successful once we leave. Hopefully we have taught you these strategies for you to then be successful out on your own. That is our goal. That is how we operate. We are successful when you are successful. And I've helped companies, as I said, counseling them, consulting with them. I have sat in as a temporary chief executive officer, chief operating officer, chief financial officer, just sometimes as a bridge for that company to get from point A to point B, and then off they go. I have a law degree, an accounting degree, and I've been doing this for 25 years, so there's really not much that I have not encountered. Look at funding for companies. How do we raise funds? How do we look at real estate? All sorts of things. But that is what my company does, and I hope that you will enjoy our video series that we are putting together. We're going to talk about one topic later on here. How to survive a pandemic, really how to survive a recession. When the economy takes a downturn, which it often does, how do you survive as a company? How do you continue to pay your bills at your business and at home? How do you continue to maximize your profit and put in profitable business strategies? You will get tired of me saying that. But it's all about maximizing profit. It's all about putting more dollars in your pocket. Taking that dollar that comes in and putting more of it into your pocket every time it comes in the door. So we're going to look at a lot of things, and we're going to talk about a lot of things. I hope you enjoy the series. I hope that you find it very beneficial. And you've got my email address up there. Contact me at any time. I'm always happy to answer questions, always happy to do work for companies and get you to where you want to be. There's so many concerns and so many things that you have to worry about as a business owner that it's hard to simply concentrate on the service or product when you have all of these other issues. We're going to teach those strategies and how to go about doing it. There's some wonderful books out there. And I'm always happy to make recommendations, but there are so many great books to help. And when you read a book about business and how to be successful, I wouldn't say that you necessarily have to take every piece of advice in that book and follow everything to a T. I think each business is unique, it's structured differently, and when you read a book, which again I highly recommend, try to read one book every 2 months. A book a month can get kind of cumbersome, but maybe one every 2 months I think can be beneficial. And take bits and pieces out of it. That's what I have always done. Take bits and pieces from books, and they help me. And, things that I will remember and use in consulting with the companies. And I use for my own company too. I have 2 other companies along with my consulting firm, and provide those insights really help when I'm dealing with those other companies and getting those to succeed, because my goal too is to be on a beach somewhere collecting checks and enjoying the sun. So as you can see, we provide a multitude of services for companies, and we're willing to do it for you as well. So throughout my whole series, let's look at some of the things that we're going to talk about, some of the things that you can look forward to. Financial statements. Are you reading them correctly? Many people don't. Many people don't understand the need for financial statements. One of the things I hear all of the time, I hear this so often, is, why does my income statement, my profit and loss statement, show a profit, but I have no cash? That is, you hear it all the time. Well, are you reading the statement correctly? Is it truly showing you the numbers that you want to see? And I will tell you that most of the time, 80-90% of the time, people are not reading them correctly. Why is a cash flow statement so important? Well, we want to know how much cash we started with and how much we ended with. Sounds simple, not always the case though. You really have to dig down into these statements to understand their true meaning. Numbers are great. We can make numbers into anything we want. I love numbers, and I love spreadsheets, and I love these financial statements. On their face, they look fine, nice, but are you really digging deep down into those statements to truly find out, how is my business doing? Am I putting in more of those pennies of that dollar into my pocket each month than not? And can I do better? Okay. So these are some of the things we're going to talk about. And in one of the series, I've actually redesigned a profit and loss statement that I think provides greater benefit. It's easier to read, easier to understand, and really provides a true picture, a true understanding of the financial status of your company. And you have to look at the dates of the statements. What do they represent? 1 month, 1 week, a year, 2 years, 6 months? It's just like a balance sheet. Do we read balance sheets correctly? Well, a balance sheet is just a snapshot of 1 day of a company. That's it. One particular moment. And unless you look at it and realize it is one particular moment, it may not tell the whole story. So those are some of the things we're going to look at. We're going to look at that in our series and really dig deep into these financial statements. And in this particular video, I'm going to talk about how to survive a recession, a downturn in the economy. Many of the companies struggled during the pandemic to survive. The government provided great help for us, providing cash for businesses. But you have to go beyond that. They're not always going to be there. They are not always going to help save us. So we really need to do it on our own and learn how to do it on our own. And then if you do get that money, man, you can do great things with it if you're on nice, solid ground. I'm not going to discuss politics. I'm not going to get into what side of the aisle you fall on or how, things could be better or different. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the current situation, whatever it is, good, bad, indifferent, and we're going to make adjustments according to it. We're going to look at tax saving strategies. Succession planning. At some point, you are going to want to stop working in your business. You're going to want to stop running your business. Do you give it to children? Do you sell it? Are you in a position to sell it? Have you done the things throughout the life of the business to put yourself in a position to create the most benefit, the most profit on that sale? Surprisingly, many people don't realize that they don't always put themselves in the best position to sell their company, and that what they do in the company really matters and how they go about doing it. There are certain strategies that will get people to actually come to you to want to buy your business, and will also maximize that sale price. I do know that many people, owning a business, operating a business that you have started, especially that you have started from ground up, it's almost like a child to you. You've put in a lot of time, effort, money, care, sweat into it, and you want to maximize the most when you turn around and sell it. And a lot of times we don't always get the amount of money that we want for it. And one of the things we're going to teach you in this series is how you can go about maximizing those dollars. Again, it's all about, maximizing profit, maximizing dollars, maximizing margin, profitable business strategies to put in place so that you can see the most out of that business, get the most money out of it. One of the things that I've encountered a few times is embezzlement. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how companies open themselves up to their employees embezzling money, supplies from the company, and how to go about, fighting that, because it can cost you a lot of money, and it can cost you your business as well. It really, really comes down to paying attention. Are you paying attention to your business? Are you paying attention to everything that's going on? This comes back to the mindset. Are you working your business or operating your business? Because if you're working in your business, I suspect that you are not paying attention to what is going on, and somebody somewhere is stealing money out of your business in the form of supplies, materials, dollars. It happens all the time. It really does. And it's quite embarrassing for the business owner to have to deal with that, because nobody wants to be in that position. So we're also going to talk about, if you're a startup, LLC, Subchapter S, a C Corp, sole proprietorship, partnership, what is my structure? How do I want to be taxed when I have that structure? What is my management style? How do I want to operate? These are key things that we're going to have to look at. You can also, the government allows us to change along the way, and generally we only get one bite at the apple. So we're going to look at whether that change could be necessary, whether it provides greater tax savings for us. We all have to give money to the government, whether you like it. Again, we're not going to get into politics, but we want to minimize that. You're working for it. You want to put the most money into your pocket as you can. So as I mentioned, starting a business will help along that process. We'll figure out what we can do to structure that business so that it's successful. As you'll see, many businesses fail because people aren't paying attention to their business. They're not operating their business. They're just simply trying to work in their own business. Maximizing dollars, selling, goes back to the succession plan. Do we want to sell? Do we want to keep the business open? Do we want to give it to our children? Do our children really want the business? Do they want to work in it, or do they simply just want the money from it? And that may sound cruel, but it's just the reality of it. How about looking at plans for when you die? How are we going to transfer the money that we have earned to our family rather than to the government? So many more things. HR issues we'll talk about. We'll talk about how to handle employees, reviews of employees, making sure that we stay within the laws of our government. FMLA. Right now, there's a big to-do about the vaccination and 100 employees. I don't always truly understand how they come up with those particular numbers. Why is it 50? Why is it 100? But that's what it is. So we have to deal with it. We have to find a profitable business strategy to deal with whatever comes our way. So these are the things we're going to look at. I'm really excited for the series. I hope over time that I get better at doing these videos. They're going to be much shorter than this one. This is the first one. We're just simply going to get moving with it. I got a lot of information, a lot of things I want to talk about. So we're going to just kind of continue to plow through it. And it's a little longer, but really worthwhile. I think it's very, very worthwhile. So through all my years of experience, I know that you can overcome any obstacle that is in your way. I tell my children all the time, if you have a problem, don't get upset about it. Figure out how to solve it. That will lead to greater returns. You could spend your time getting upset, getting angry, and it's okay if you do. If you want to take a moment, get angry, get, upset at what's going on, walk outside and yell, whatever, but then come in, sit down, and solve the problem. There are always many, many ways to solve a problem. As a business owner, at times you will feel unmotivated to do things. So we'll kind of even talk about motivation. And along those lines, do you have an outcome statement for your company? Do you have a business plan? And those are kind of two different things. We know where we want to go with our outcome statement. We know what we want to achieve. Now we have to look at a business plan. How do we get there? I have a good friend that has software that we're going to talk about in one of our upcoming videos, and it's a fantastic piece of software for companies. Provides you an outcome statement, KPIs. We'll look at your KPIs and are we hitting them? Why are we not hitting them? Why are we hitting them? And then those are good things. Scheduling meetings, keeping track of employees to make sure that they are doing the things that they need to do to be successful and to have your company be successful. We're even going to get into a little marketing. I have another friend who has a marketing company, and he has a great way of marketing. And it's different than anything you've seen, anything you've encountered, any book you've ever read. And we're going to feature the book in one of our talks here, in our series. And it really is looking at how the brain makes decisions. And if you are a salesperson, you know that it is extremely difficult nowadays to sell your product or service. And my friend Brian has a wonderful, wonderful way of going about selling this. And I know that there are companies throughout the world that use his service. And it's great. It is just super. I will be the first one to tell you cold calling does not work. And I hate doing it. One time I got advice. It was great advice. If you absolutely have to cold call, is when you finally get someone on the phone, you can just come out and tell them, be honest. I hate cold calling. I really hate to do this to you, but I have to. So if you'll just bear with me and let me get through this, I'd appreciate it. And most of the time people are like, okay, they appreciate the honesty, and you can turn that into a sale. It's hard. It's not always easy. Like I said, I cold calling, and I just can't do it. I just don't like to do it. It's not fun, but sometimes it's a necessity. But my friend Brian, again, has a great way to go about getting into marketing, making that sale, closing that sale. It does not involve cold calling. And sometimes it's just asking someone, can I have 5 minutes of your time? Let me show you what your major problem is that you don't even realize you have. And by the way, I can solve it for you. And most of the time when you tell them what their problem is, they go, yeah, how did you know that? Yeah. And as soon as they say that, you're on the right track. And then you can go ahead and make that sale. So, well, let's get into it today. Let's kind of get into our first lesson, or in our first series here. And I think it's important. As I mentioned, we're coming out of the pandemic. The economy is still, my opinion, struggling. Go out to dinner, and I went out to lunch the other day, and there was a sign when I walked in, and it said, please be kind to our staff. We are short-staffed, and the ones that are here are overworked and doing the best they can. And oh, by the way, if you know anyone looking for a job, send them our way. it's like that everywhere. And, we try to provide a certain level of service. And when we go someplace and we don't get the service we expect, we get angry. But in today's world, you just kind of have to accept it and go with it. The wait staff, they're always busting their hump and, trying to do the best they can. And they're short-staffed and they're working hard. And, if we just show a little appreciation for them, for the fact that they're there working and serving us, I just think that's fantastic. So, but that's something else we're going to talk about, service. Are you a service to your client, to your customer? Or are you simply just a commodity that the customer looks at? This kind of goes back to my friend Brian and his marketing. So often, the only way people make this buying decisions is based on price. When that happens, you're nothing more than a commodity. You are no different than anybody else. So my goal throughout this series, my goal as a consultant is to bring service back to the service industry. And with my other companies, we try to do that as well. We try to bring service back. I want to serve people. I don't want to just be a commodity. I don't want them to pick up the phone and say, how much do you charge? And they make a decision based on that. I want them to understand what we do, why we do it, how we do it, and how we provide great service for you so that you have a friend when you're done serving someone. The relationship grows there. And I've made a ton of relationships from helping people with their companies and so forth. So, all right, let's kind of get into it a little bit here. So, how to survive a recession. So, Paul Romer, an economist, said a great quote: "A crisis is a terrible thing to waste." Why is that? A crisis, right? What did I say a little while ago? When you have a problem, don't get mad, don't get angry. Figure out how to solve it. When there is a crisis, when there is a recession, a pandemic, which who knows when we'll ever experience another one, a downturn in the economy, that is a crisis, and people tend to freak out. It is a great, great opportunity for you to succeed. It is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for you to propel your business far greater than you can in great economic times. Why? Generally speaking, many companies will fail. A lot of your competitors will fall by the wayside because they panic. They do the wrong things. They look at their business and make cuts and things that are detrimental to long-term survival. I want to see long-term survival. So when there's this crisis, not only can we do away with some of our competitors, we can increase our market share, and we can now start to serve the customer, listen to the customer, and serve their needs better than before. And that is going to make loyal customers. So when there's a downturn in the economy, when there's a crisis, I want you to sit up, put a smile on your face, and say, now is an opportunity for us to grow, to triple our revenue, to maximize our profit, increase our margins so that we are putting more dollars in our pocket. Okay, so we have this recession. What happens? Why do people panic? What are the numbers? What do they tell us? Okay, so the U.S. Department of Commerce tells us that 33%, also some will tell you it's upwards of 80% of all small businesses fail within 2 years. 50% will fail within 5 years. I think I just made a comment where I said I would love to see long-term sustainability. That is what we want to see out of our clients, long-term sustainability. It's going to make you happier, and the strategies that we put into place will allow you to be more profitable. So about 600,000 small businesses close their doors every year. In a time of recession, it's projected that 62% of small businesses will not survive 6 months or longer than the recession. Excuse me there while I get a drink. That is a disturbing number. 62% will not survive 6 months. Think about that. Next time you drive around your city or town, look at all of the businesses. Just look at a strip mall and imagine 62% of them gone after 6 months because they can't survive. It's because they didn't maximize their profit. They didn't put in profitable business strategies. I say these words over and over and over again. My kids even hear them, and they laugh when I say them all the time. Over time, there has been very few, if any, studies done to determine survival of small businesses. And again, small, medium-sized businesses, under 100 employees, under 50 million in revenue, entrepreneurs starting their business. Many of the studies are based on large publicly traded companies because we can get data from them. They post data all the time, their quarterly reports, yearly reports, because through the SEC they have to go ahead and make these filings. So we can kind of see and track them and understand their business. Well, with a privately small to medium-sized company, there's no data because people don't share it. I've accumulated data over 25 years that I have used to help my clients, but in the general public, there's no data because, again, they're private and nobody wants to share that information. So when you research this topic, as I have, you're going to find very little, if anything. What I did find, however, was a March 2010 Harvard Business Review. In 2008, Harvard studied 4,700 public companies. Again, public, not private, but I use this as a reference because I think it shows some great points. And again, just like I said when we read a book, we want to pull little bits and pieces of data out of the book and things that are helpful. We don't always necessarily follow exactly what is said. And many times it's so cumbersome when you read a book to follow these things. It's like I have to transform my whole life now. I need to get up at 4:30 and do 800 things before 6 o'clock so that I feel better and stuff. Don't need to do all that. Take small bits and pieces that are going to help you propel your business, help you propel yourself in life to be a better person. Every day, I believe you should wake up and try to tell yourself, I shouldn't say try, tell yourself, I'm going to be better today than I was yesterday. Some days we succeed, some days we don't, but we don't stop trying. We don't stop getting up, trying to be better than we were the day before. So, all right, back to our Harvard Business Review. They looked at 3 distinct time frames: 3 years prior to a recession, the recession months or years, and then 3 years after the recession. They measured 2 key data points: sales and profit growth before EBITDA, earnings before income taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Profit growth, I love that. Sales can always go up. Doesn't necessarily mean profit goes up. I want to see sales go up and I want to see profit go up. I would rather be a $10 million company that has $8 million in profit than a $20 million company that has $3 million in profit. Seems to me that $20 million company, there's a lot of waste, a lot more effort going into it. I'd rather be the other. Again, it's all about putting money in your pocket. So they looked at those time frames and those key data points. So let's kind of look at what they found and the outcome of this study. Some of their numbers. What they found is that 17%, approximately 800 of those 4,700 companies, did not survive a recession. They went bankrupt, they were acquired, or they became private. That's kind of an interesting thing that they became private, but that's generally a downturn in sales and profit and stuff because they can no longer hold their value on the open market, so their stock price probably was just driven down and out of control. So they end up going private. Sometimes that's not a bad thing, but generally if you're a publicly traded company, going private again, not necessarily great. Okay, so of the remaining 83%, 80% of the 4,700, about 3,120, failed to regain their pre-recession sales and profit growth rates 3 years after the recession. Interesting. 80% of those companies failed to achieve the level that they were at before the recession, which means that their company took a downturn. Whenever a company is taking a downturn and sales are going down and profits going down, generally leads to failure, to closure. They will somehow, within those next 5 to 10 years, go bankrupt, be acquired, somehow fall by the wayside. 9%, approximately 351, I love how they came up with that number, 351, flourished after a slowdown, doing better on sales and profit growth than prior to the recession, outperformed their competitors by 10% in terms of sale and profit growth. Again, profit growth, I think that's fantastic. So we want to figure out how to fall into that 9%. Very small number. Out of 4,700 companies, 351 actually did better. So they did something. What did they do? We want to be in that 9%. We want to be in that exclusive company of those businesses that now outperformed everybody else because they took a crisis, they took an issue, and they solved it. And they were better off because of it. This is where we want to go. This is where this series of videos and my company are going to take you. It's where we've taken many, many clients. The videos hopefully help you get there. You take bits and pieces of information so that it's beneficial for you, so that, again, you are operating your business, you're running your business, you're not working in your business. All right, so let's look at some more of that study. When you have a crisis, when there's this downturn, you can do a couple things. You can take offensive moves or defensive moves. Again, when you have a problem, figure out how to solve it. Here are some methods to do that. 3 common defensive moves. Reduce the number of employees, reduce operational costs, and improve operational efficiency, or do both. Now, I want to say this. Doing one of these is not the answer. It may or may not be. Doing just offensive moves, just defensive moves, that's not necessarily the answer. We're going to get to the answer, but I don't want you to think that the way to solve this problem is to go and reduce the number of employees. Okay, we're actually going to learn that that's a bad thing to do. Or they can do both. Offensive moves, develop new markets, invest in new assets, and or research and development, or do both. So these are the common strategies that these 4,700 companies used during a recession. Generally speaking now, they were broken down into 4 types of companies. They were prevention-focused companies. They made primarily defensive moves and were more concerned with their rivals and avoiding losses and minimizing downside risks. Now you think, well, that's not so bad. We're trying to minimize risks. We're going to see what our rivals are doing. Not always the best thing to do, however. Promotion-focused companies invest more in offensive moves that provide upside benefits than their peers. Then you had pragmatic companies. They combine defensive and offensive moves. And then you have progressive companies where they deploy the optimal combination of defensive and offensive moves. I love that word optimal that they used in there because it goes back to optimizing, maximizing your profit, maximizing your profitable business strategies. So without ruining the ending, what we're going to learn is that these pragmatic companies and progressive companies are the ones that perform the best. Generally, it's a combination. In moderation, everything is successful. Combining these moves, looking at what's best for your company is going to help you succeed. So let's kind of look at the breakdown of some of these companies and how they went about falling into these categories. Prevention-focused companies, purely defensive. They tend to cut operational costs, frill expenditures, postpone research and development, new business, or buying assets. Here's the effect of doing that. It causes every decision to look through a minimizing lens. Aim low and continue to cut costs and innovation incrementally. That's not always the best thing to do. We don't always want to sit there and cut costs and cut back and cut back and cut back, because all we're doing is just cutting away our business. People are trying to do more with less. A huge, huge no-no. Anybody who's had a company and employees knows that when you tell your employees that they need to start doing more, or they won't have a job, or the company's going to fail, you essentially have told them, go out and find a new job, because you're not going to get paid anymore, you're going to work more, and we're not going to succeed. So I'm just going to save you the trouble and go find a new job right now. Prevention-focused companies tend to cut costs across the board rather than reviewing all costs. This is when I talk about a surgeon's knife and really going through and cutting out costs that are not relevant. We don't necessarily need to do a 10% across the board cut. I hear that all the time. That goes back to people doing more with less. It also creates unrest in your company. The morale of your employees gets so low. Nobody wants to come to work then. Who wants to come to work and do more than I was doing the day before, get paid the same or less, only to sit here and have a job? Today's market, I can go out and find another job in a minute, probably make more, get a signing bonus. The other day, my son went for a job. He's college age. They're going to pay him $1,000 to sign, a $100 bonus each week if he shows up on time. That's what we're up against. Company culture takes a huge hit. Everyone's on pins and needles about their jobs, just what I was saying. So prevention-focused companies are not necessarily the answer. Promotion-focused companies, purely offensive, tend to focus on investing heavily in research and development, purchasing assets, and marketing. They pay no attention to defensive moves. We're going to spend. They develop a culture of optimism, which leads to denying the gravity of the situation. They tend to push aside the naysayers and realities of the economy, and the realities of the economy are overlooked. We're just too happy here. We're just, it's going to be fine, and let's not worry about anything. Let's just continue to spend. They don't focus on the customer's needs. This is huge. Huge. Customers' needs and budget concerns. If you want to be successful in any business, focus on your customer's needs. If the customer needs something, give it to them. That is why people come to you. This is when you provide a service and are no longer a commodity. They add bells and whistles to their products that customers can't afford rather than pivoting to their needs. Go to the customer's needs. Don't add things that they don't want and make them pay more. They're not going to do it. They want what they want. Provide them what they want. Okay, pragmatic companies and progressive companies. We kind of lump these in together because they're the same. Your progressive companies tend to do it better than your pragmatic companies. Pragmatic companies recognize cost cutting is necessary, investing is equally essential to spur growth, and they must manage both to survive and become post-recession leader. Progressive companies act in the same manner, however, they stay closely connected to their customers' needs, which is how they make their investment decisions. They increase their investment in research and development, marketing, and purchasing assets. It's that customer's need that really drives the progressive companies more so than the pragmatic companies. So when we look at offensive and defensive moves, it's really kind of a combination of both. And there's a delicate balance in doing this. But pragmatic and progressive companies do it best. Progressive do it better than pragmatic, and these are the 9% of those companies, the 351, that do it best, survive, and increase after those 3 years because they focused on customer needs. They drilled down what does the customer want and need and how can I get it to them, because I provide a service. Even if you provide a product, it's still a service. And we want to put service back into business, because the more service we have, the less chance that we are a commodity. Insurance companies are commodities, right? How many times do you see online, on the TV, we're the lowest cost, buy us. If you want to lower your insurance costs, buy us. All they're telling you is they're a commodity. Now, there's all these hidden rules and policies that at the end of the day, if you really don't watch out, you kind of shoot yourself in the foot because you treated it as a commodity and you really didn't look into, well, what does this policy provide me? It's probably something we're going to talk about at one point because insurance is really interesting. But they become a commodity, and we want to prevent you from becoming a commodity. We want you to be a service to your customer. Okay, so we talked about this delicate balance, right? Those that follow the pragmatic or progressive approach have a 37% greater profitability. Sometimes I get too fast. I'll get better at these videos. Probability of outperforming their companies. They reduce costs selectively by focusing on operational efficiency. Operational efficiency does not always mean you cut employees. It means we operate efficiently, we streamline our process, and we make the most out of spending a dollar. They invest in marketing, research, and development, in new assets that provide a reliable and reasonable return and payback period. This is servicing your customer, finding out their needs. They enter into partnerships to develop new products or find additional means to provide their services or products, fill a need or gap in the market. As your competitors fall by the wayside, which they will in a time of recession, it opens up a gap or a niche market. There's a need now. Service that need. That is what will keep your customers loyal to you because it's what they want, it's what they need, and now you're going to service it for them. There may even be a gap or a need that is created because of the recession. Look for those, pivot towards those so that now, and put money in investing in those so that you are servicing the needs of your customer, and your customer who is struggling as well, but is going to pull that dollar out of their pocket and give it to you. That's what we're aiming for. As I mentioned, they focus on customer service and customer needs. They find cost-efficient alternatives. They put the customer before profit. Most people put profit before the customer. If you put the customer's needs first, the profit will follow. And you've got to operate efficiently. All right, so let's look at operating efficiently. Re-examine every aspect of your business model. This is something that we do with our clients, and we've done it for a long, long time, and it's very successful. It's taking a different approach. I had a teacher in high school, an English teacher, and one day we were talking about looking at the world differently, getting a different perspective. It was reading a book about something, and he made us stand up on our desk. And we stood up on our desk, and he said, now look around in the room. It looks different. So if you change your perspective on something, change the way you look at it, you will see things differently. So when we look at our business, sometimes we have to stand on the table, look at it differently, and now make adjustments because we can see things differently. Supply chains, organizational structure. Look at every expense. It doesn't mean cut the expense. It doesn't mean reduce the expense. It just means look at it. Is it necessary? What does it provide for us? Once you become efficient, by all means, stay there. This is one of the things where I mentioned earlier in the video that we teach our clients. Once you are there, stay there. We're going to teach you the profitable business strategies for long-term survival. So as you come out of the recession, if you stay there in this operational efficiency, you are going to see your profit grow faster. That's why these 9% of companies in this study grew exponentially faster and outperformed everybody else. All right, I've mentioned this a couple times, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. Cutting employees. How many times have we heard a president of a company stand up and say, our most valuable asset is our employees, and then in a recession turn around and cut the employees? Well, that doesn't make sense. Why are you going to get rid of your most valuable asset? chances are when you stood up and said, employees are our most valuable asset, you didn't mean it. Because if you mean it, and that is truly the case, you're not going to fire or reduce your employees. It would be like saying my most valuable items in my house I'm going to get rid of because, and I don't know the answer to that. I don't know why the companies do that. But in 2000, there was a recession, and there are two major office supply companies. Many of you probably know what they are. I'm not going to mention them, but they were office supply companies. You see one more so now than you see the other, and let's look at why. You've got Company A and Company B. Company A president got up and cut 6% of their workforce, 6% of their most valuable assets. And they did not reduce operational cost or add services, filling the gap, filling the need in a time of recession. Company B, however, closed underperforming stores, increased their workforce, and added new services. Who does that in a recession? Who increases their workforce? They did, because they added new services, they found their customers' needs, and now they serviced it. Company A sales had increased steadily at 16% each year. Before the recession, it dropped to now 9%. That is a 7%, almost half of what they were growing at before. While Company B, their sales doubled, and they became 30% more profitable than Company A. And by the way, I don't know if you can see it because of the video there, Company A has never recovered. That is why you'll see one of these office supply stores more so than the others. Because they were smart. They took that approach of offensive and defensive moves. They cut underperforming stores, which means that they cut out operational inefficiency. But yet they retained their workers, increased their workforce, and found new services to provide for their customers, so that now their customers were coming in and spending money, which of course increased sales and profitability. So I've got a chart here. Charts, again, they're nice, they're wonderful. They don't always tell the story, but just to kind of show you a little bit of what we've been talking about. So prevention, promotion, pragmatic, and progressive companies. As you can see, progressive companies, both sales percent and profit percent went up. Prevention and promotion companies, their sales and profit lagged or decreased after the recession, whereas pragmatic and progressive increased. Now, remember, pragmatic and progressive, that's our 9% of those companies, those 351. But as you can see, they went up. Sales and profit went up. And that is a fantastic thing to have happen. Fantastic. That's what your company wants. When there's a crisis, when there's a problem, figure out how to solve it. Don't just take that gut-wrenching reaction and say, we need to cut. Okay? Not always the best thing to do. You can't go and cut your employees. You can't go and cut expenses across the board. Take a surgeon's knife, look at it, understand it. And this is where understanding financial statements really comes in. Because do we understand our financial statement enough to go in and carve up our expenses? What is necessary? What is not necessary? What can we reduce? Where should we spend money to provide a new service or product to fill that gap or customer need that is now created because of this recession? Companies that have that fall into this pragmatic or progressive. I'm going to give you some examples of these custom companies and what they have done to fall within that 9%, because that's where we want to be. I'd love to see 100% to go in there, but it's not reasonable. It's never going to happen. But if you employ the proper strategies to maximize your profit and understand your business and the economy, you will succeed. You will be the one that has the greater sale price at the end of the day. You're going to be the one that's living in the mountains, on the beach, sailing away, skiing, whatever it is you want to do. You're going to be the one doing that. All right. So companies that fall within that 9%. So just a couple examples. Netflix, they became far less expensive alternative to cable and satellite TV. They also partnered with Xbox and others to allow their platform to grow. They grew in 2009 and found other avenues to get their service to the customer. They were not a commodity. They were a service. Netflix explodes today. Who doesn't watch it? My wife and I watch it all the time. Amazon. Amazon's always a very interesting company to... they're such a unique company, to monitor, to watch, explore. They experienced in 2009 a 25% growth. Why? What did they do? They offered more products at a lower price. They decided to put customer service over profitability and competitive dominance. They ended up dominating everybody because they went to their customer and they said, what is it that you need? We're going to provide this for you. So the customers flocked to them. Whether you like, hate, or are indifferent to Jeff Bezos, he's done something. If you don't like what he does, you have to admire the fact that everybody continues to buy from him. So it's always amazing when people tell him what to do with his money. If you don't like his company, don't buy from him. But yet, they dominate everything. In 2009, Domino's put millions into a new marketing campaign to change, the way they did business, to change the recipe. And I believe they are the largest fast food pizza chain in the world right now. I'm pretty sure about that. Pizza Hut may be the largest, but Domino's made quite a jump. Now, don't forget, we went through one heck of a recession in 2008 as well. But these companies just really progressed.